Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Peter and John, for having me speak today. It's great to come back to CMU, and what I enjoy is I've seen many of you, the range of departments and disciplines that really are rooted in, I think, some of the fundamental ideas of this class. One thing John reminded me of last night, which really never dawned on me, but literally when I was going through Tepper, the integrated product development courses were really the precursor to the MPD courses and program here, and it was my favorite. It was what got me jazzed up. It was what got me excited. And I'll never forget on our final project, we had this team, and it was just a great team. And since then, John's written. I've worked with John on all kinds of different ventures and different things. But that team that we had, it was something special. It was something special about being able to take designers and engineers and myself and marketing and a few other folks and pull them together and do something great. Now, back then we thought we were doing the greatest thing in the world. We invented a better doorknob, a better way to open a door, right? But since then it turns out that our designer in that team is one of the persons who was responsible for designing the iPhone. The mechanical engineer of the team is one of the persons who went out and started a business out in Silicon Valley, a robotics business that was sold for about $100 million. And it's that kind of spark and energy and cross-functional excitement that I think these types of programs give. And what I wanted to talk about today really was how these skills and how the initiatives and the learnings from this type of program, from these types of initiatives, can be translated into, let's say, atypical career paths and ways that you can go and apply these skills. My bent, and what I'm going to talk about today, is going to be a little bit more on the entrepreneurial side and the new venture creation side, but it also applies to entrepreneurship. It applies to being able to apply this not just to small businesses, but also to large businesses. So we live in a very special time right now. If you look at things that are going on because of the internet and because of things that we're all familiar with, Moore's Law, with the dropping prices of processing power every year by a factor of 2 every year and a half, Metcalfe's law of being able to network and being able to connect with people very, very inexpensively. These cost trends are opening up enormous opportunities for people to apply all the skills that we've all really cultivated and harnessed here to solve enormous problems. One of the things that actually comes out of this technology is that we're creating tremendous data, and this data, of which we all are, we hear about every day, is changing industries, and it's enabling folks with little capital and with little experience. In fact, in many cases, it's better for you to have no experience to be able to go into an industry and really disrupt it, but to go in with almost nothing and really become a player and really disrupt it. So the thing that, in order to do that, is you have to be a good product person. You have to have good fundamentals to know what customers want and what customers need. That is the skill that we need for the coming years, and being able to put together not just the product development, but what the customers need, the financing, et cetera, to go create something new and special that, frankly, a lot of these big lumbering companies don't have the ability to be able to go do on their own. And it's our job as new product developers, et cetera, to go disrupt that. Obviously, UI and design, which has taken a great front seat. I'd say when I came out 15 years ago, we talked about it, but it wasn't as accepted. It wasn't as embraced as it is today. Today, if you don't have a designer on your team, you shouldn't even start the company or start the initiative. And it's these types of changes that are going on. It happens to just be the time in which we're living. It's the time in which technology is changing at a rate. The power of technology is changing at a rate that it is approximately that of what we can do as humans, in terms of computing capability, et cetera. If you look over time, you say, well, how long does it take for different products to gain adoption? And what you'll see here, and this is an axis on the bottom, which is how many years it takes from the invention to actually penetrate the households and the marketplace. And what you'll see is that on a number of the inventions and a number of the things that are more recent, the PC, the cell phone, the internet, you're seeing, my gosh, we're disrupting, we're being able to penetrate markets at unprecedented speeds. So what's so interesting about this is that allows everybody here to have the power. You have power that you could not even wield 10, 15, 20 years ago. With little capital, with a little time, a lot of ingenuity, and great design principles, you can go and disrupt the world. So let's talk about some of these examples. And we all know about the great product success stories. Certainly, Apple is just tremendous. Frankly, everybody's got their stories. I sold I've had 5 companies. One of my companies I sold to Apple in 2002. All my employees took stock. I took cash. It was not the smartest thing I've ever done, but they have done a fantastic job, and now that team has about 500 people across several different products. But Apple is just a fantastic success story, and the product stories around that are well known. I put up Audi because similarly, recently they've been lauded for their fantastic design. I also happen to own an Audi, so I feel like they've applied great design principles in order to really compete in the marketplace and take share from BMW and others. And then obviously we know all the great brands that have come out. And you might look at it and say, okay, now with this new product development skills and all these things, well, we can go into these large markets and really make incremental improvements. But what I'm here to do is also challenge you to say that there are enormous opportunities in non-obvious places to apply these types of learnings and these types of frameworks. So, for instance, let me actually start to talk a couple of case studies. One is right after I got out of school, rather than going out actually to the disdain of the COC at the time, the Career Opportunity Center, because I didn't take a job, my buddy and I, we said we're going to go buy a business. And we went and looked around, and of all things, we found this in McKees Rocks, this decrepit, run down, almost bankrupt railcar business. We went and looked at it. We said, now, what can we do and how can we fix it? And there were some operational things that probably have less to do here. But one of the real things was we thought that the way that there was an interface to the customer, the way that these old railcar companies were meeting with and getting approved for all this railcar repair work that had to be done in big rail cars was very inefficient. It took months in some cases, and it really clogged things up. So what we did was, and again, it was the best business plan I ever wrote. I came right out of school. I had design contacts that we hired, and some students. I had some engineers that came in, and we designed a little program that all we did was very simple. Was when the rail cars came in, we started tracking them digitally. We took pictures. We identified all the things that were wrong and needed to be repaired in rail cars. I didn't even know this industry existed. Who knows about repairing rail cars? But by applying the principles of going out and talking to the customers, understanding what their needs are, saying, look, I need to have a well-designed interface. I need to have a software that's going to meet their needs, which is how can I shrink what normally takes 45 or 50 days of approval down to 10, and to make these folks really, the logistics customers, really happy. And we did it through very, very simple things. Now, the interesting thing is that company, to go build that software, it took me 1.5 years. We sold that company to Trinity Industries literally 2 years after I acquired it. And today, to build that software would probably take 3 months. And that is, with half the people, and it'd be 3 times better. So that's what's really amazing and disruptive about the time of which we're all living. Secondly, right now, a project that I've kind of stumbled on after, I'll talk about Regin a little bit more here in a bit, but for instance, here's another case where, there's a friend of mine came to me. I've been advising him for years. He's got a little, what's called a question bank in the physician world. People have to go and get these tests and the qualification tests. And for years, there's companies like Kaplan and everything. They've had these classroom settings. They've taught how physicians, how to improve their test scores. These are very high stakes exams. Depending on how well you test, it determines whether you're going to surgery, family medicine, whatever your goals are. And they have not really adapted. They have not really gone out and said, how can I really help the students test properly and score and give them the feedback of where their gaps are. So he went out and built an online software program, literally bootstrapped with no capital, and is disrupting this very large industry just by making better products, using very nimble and capital efficient ways of penetrating. So, one of the things that, those are two examples of, literally just taking railcar management, railcar maintenance, which you wouldn't think of. Here we are, dull, boring medical test stuff, right? I've got to go and practice for this test. How do I make it fun? How do I make it engaging? These are things that if you just think about it, you apply the MPD principles. These are what I call blocking and tackling, less thought about markets that are really, really good. Now, with that said, as my wife says, I do have a man crush on Elon Musk. Okay. Now, here's a guy who takes great, product development ideas. He came out and said, look, if you look at going to space, you look at jet engines. The rocket engines are antiquated, they're not efficient, and they need to be redesigned. And if I can fix that problem, that engineering problem, that design problem, we can have a commercial space race. He goes out, he takes on NASA, he takes on the world. Mind you, he did put $100 million into it, but still, he took on NASA. I mean, how awesome is that? Then, while he's doing that, he says, "I'm going to go and build an electric car. I'm going to take on the car industry." And he says, "Well, they don't design these things right. They're wrong. They're not using the right design principles. We should be, embracing more, green initiatives, etc." And then he goes in and disrupts that. So what's amazing is that, even with a little capital, you can just go and disrupt these enormous industries. And that's what we've done with Red Zone. Years ago, it was about 2004. I went around and I started recruiting John there, and found out that Alcosan had to pay $2-3 billion to fix all the local pipes. So there's big opportunity here. After we went out and did the research, I said, look, let's go build a business to go disrupt what, frankly, over the first 40, 50 years of its life, had not seen any really disruption. We have all these underground sewer pipes. We never think about it. You flush the toilet, you never even, where does it go? I mean, I didn't know. I didn't even think about it. But the issue is that there's $1 trillion of value in all this underground infrastructure. And what we saw in 2004 was that they were really managing this entire thing the way that, that they were even in 40 years earlier. So all we did was apply the same frameworks and the same principles to this very, very sleepy, dirty business, obviously. And there's a little bit of Carnegie Mellon magic thrown in with robots and software and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the whole thing is applying good product principles, making robots that people want to use, making software that people can understand where the problems are, where should I spend my money, how should I go about optimizing this problem, and making that whole experience better. And it's all about being able to take ideas and translating them into products and into disrupting these large industries. So, some of these things I've talked about, they sound a little bit crazy, but in order to go do this, really, because of the age in which we live, and because of technology and the tools that are coming about, it really is something that all you have to do is come up with a good idea, but then you've got to focus on executing it. In these cases, it's not just having a good idea. I've had so many friends and folks that come up to me with ideas. It's being able to go and do something with it. Now, you can do that as an entrepreneur. You can do that in a larger company. It really doesn't matter the vehicle. But all I'm saying and I'm encouraging you to do is to go out and do it. And one of the things that that as an example I'll use is that when I went through the program in integrated product development in Tepper, it was a little bit different. One of the constraints was develop a product for the home. We didn't have sponsors back then, or maybe I don't think we did. You pick anything you want, go develop a product for the home. And what we developed was a better way to open the door. It sounds silly, but we opened a door and we said there's too many steps, and what if you're carrying different bags, etc. And what if you want to let somebody in during the day, the cable person, and you don't want to take off work, etc. Well, we had this idea in 1997, but I happen to know a lot now about this industry. I have a friend who runs a company called Alarm.com, etc. And this is now an enormous industry that really was just an idea, was hatched right here as part of this program and as part of the frameworks in which we use in order to bring these products to market and to fruition. And again, what's neat about it is cell phones, wireless technologies, all these things that 15 years ago it was hard. Now it really makes all these capabilities available to us and disruptive. So how can all of you, especially students obviously, but how can you over the next 10 years leverage your skills and leverage what's going on here? And some of my core feelings and philosophies are: one, embrace the product part of who you are. This is what I've done. This is where I've seen other people. Being a product person has enormous advantages. You see things that other people don't, and that is that's something that will carry with you throughout your career. Secondly, for me, do what you like. Don't do something that you don't like. Follow your passion. Make sure you go for me, I enjoy business-to-business stuff. I enjoy engineering things. I seek those things out. But if you enjoy design, if you enjoy go apply those. Apply the frameworks. And the one thing as an entrepreneur, whether it's entrepreneurship or just never give up. Make sure that you see it through. Make sure you make it happen. And I'll just like to leave it with you. We do live in a special time. All this technology is disruptive. It is entirely enabling. You can build businesses in such quick time and disrupt industries by applying all the lessons that and skills that you have and the lessons you've learned, and go out and make it happen. Thank you.